You're watching the CG Live podcast. Now, the content for these podcasts are a little bit different than our normal pods as we bring on members and do long-form interviews. These were actually recorded live at our events with members that were going on stage to present. So the content is killer. Enjoy the show. Welcome back into the Collective Genius podcast. The live version, we're in Clearwater Beach, Florida, Q2 event for our CG CEO and CG Premier events. And I am so excited to introduce you to our next live guest, the best hair and the best mustache game in the business in Collective Genius, Mr.
Wow.
Josh Swart.
Wow.
Welcome in, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How about that for an intro? By far the best hair. And then we were just joking before the show that every time he does something from a podcast perspective, this is the time in which you have the mustache.
I know. It's 1 quarter a year that I'm allowed to have the mustache. And it just so happens to coincide with the time that I'm on camera here.
You were either a paramedic or a firefighter at one point, right?
Yep.
That is totally a firefighter mustache.
Absolutely.
Right there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're rocking that. Like,
Yeah.
like as a former firefighter, you're like, I just got to keep this look.
I know, right?
I wish I could grow that. I've never been able to, not number one, the hair game is awesome. And then number two, I can't grow the facial hair, but maybe one day.
It's a blessing and a curse.
It's like my height. Exactly. Exactly. Well, Josh is joining us because he is going to do a presentation here after lunch, and I wanted to have him on to not only tell his story, but also give some value of what he's going to be presenting on in his track presentation. He is in construction. He's in Charlotte. Why don't you tell the people where you operate out of and what you do so I don't have to take away your thunder there.
Yeah, thank you. I'm in the Charlotte, North Carolina market. We focus on new construction, infill development, build to rent, and we do a little bit of wholesaling, but primarily construction is that's our bread and butter.
You've always kind of been that from the day that you joined Collective Genius. You've been someone that focuses mostly on the construction side, but when needed, you wholesale or hotel when the opportunity presents itself. So you're going to be presenting on bringing construction in-house, and this is something that I think is super important right now because when I am talking to real estate investors now, not 3 years ago, not 4 years ago, I hear more and more and more of, hey, I really need help with my construction process, bringing construction in-house. So at every single meeting, we put together what we call track presentations where our members have the ability to choose their room, whether that's sales, marketing, construction. They have the opportunity to say, you know what, I'm good on sales or I'm good on marketing, I'm good on leadership, but I really need help with construction. So we try to find those that are doing that, whatever that track is well. In this particular case, it's construction. And so Josh is going to be presenting on how to bring construction in-house and do it effectively. So give me in the audience here what you'll be presenting on specifically and how, people that, when they leave, what should they leave with?
Yeah. So they actually mentioned it yesterday. I can't remember which presenter it was, but they were talking about as you grow and scale, your system breaks. And then you have to pivot and you have to modify it from there. And that's what we experienced as the more houses that we started building. We were outsourcing the whole process to a general contractor. And in doing that, we noticed some cracks. Timelines were taking longer, costs were increasing. There wasn't as much accountability and ownership in that process. And so at the beginning of this year in January, we brought that in-house. And it's turned out to be a very profitable and a very wise move on our end just to save cost and to decrease our timelines.
So when you say you brought it in-house, what does that look like? Is that a project manager? Is that hiring a GC? How did you go about doing that?
Yeah, so there's a guy who worked with me. He was on my team for about 1.5 years. And we basically formed a construction company together, gave him some ownership in it, and with some incentives to grow where his ownership increases over time. But yeah, I mean, we are general contractors. Like we have our own construction company and the whole process from permits to CO, we're scheduling, we're managing all the subcontractors and coordinating effort and doing what we need to.
So if you get that question in that room that someone, maybe they're wholesaling 200-300 deals a year and they're looking at their market and their margins over the last year especially, and they're saying, all right, I need to take some of these properties down and add value, but I have zero construction background. What would you suggest 0 to 1? Because you're going to get that question in that room. There's no doubt about it. So what would you suggest going from 0 to 1, where do I start if I want to bring some, I want to start taking deals down?
Yeah, I think the best thing that you can do is to find a guide, find somebody who's going to walk you through the process. And for us, for years, that was the general contractor that we were working with. And they're going to be the ones who are helping you through the process, giving you that confidence and understanding all aspects of it. And then when you get to that point where it makes sense, you can bring it in-house and do it yourself.
It's great advice. In fact, some of the best partnerships that I have noticed over the years here in the Collective Genius have been people that, know how to find talent, know how to market and get direct to seller and then close deals. That's their superpower. Construction may not be, but they find someone that's a GC, especially when building new construction, because that's a whole different animal for those that don't have a GC license or that construction background. And some of the best partnerships I've seen. Now, partnerships are what they are, right? Some are great, others are not. But the best ones I have seen are the people that have one partner is really good at construction, and the other partner is handling all the other business operations, especially when finding and attracting deals. So you're doing a lot of new construction. There will also be this question in that room. Hey, Josh, I currently do a lot of assignments, and during that, I find a lot of land that I don't do anything with it. I don't take those calls. What would you suggest in that particular case for those that maybe don't have a construction background?
I love land.
You sound like a 40-year-old virgin right there. I love land. I love land.
The mustache, the hair, all that.
Yes, you got it going.
Great. I think owning land and being able to, especially land where we can subdivide, it just creates so much opportunity to bake in equity and gives you multiple exit strategies. You can build to sell, build to rent. I think there's a lot more options with land than there are with just wholesaling. It's just, you're just a one-trick pony, right? But if you get good at land, underwriting land, and figuring out what is a good buildable lot versus not, what land can be subdivided, what land can be developed on, it just makes you so much more effective and dangerous as an investor because it gives you options.
Would you get the same advice that we were just discussing with finding a guide, a partner, a mentor on the construction side? Would you say the same thing for land? Because land can be very complicated.
Absolutely.
On what you can build on, what you can and get entitled, and all the things and permits and all those things. Would you suggest the same advice?
Absolutely. I mean, the easiest thing is to look at new construction as this new sexy thing, and the grass is always greener. And there's just as many challenges that you may run in with poor underwriting on your land as you will poor underwriting on a flip. So each of those asset classes require attention to detail, and it's not always cut and dry. We eliminate a lot of the risk on the front end by doing really good underwriting on our land deals.
Okay. So if you're watching this right now live, you are watching the live Collective Genius podcast at our Q2 event here in Clearwater Beach, Florida. This is for our CEO and premier level groups. If you're listening to this on a recording, you're getting some really, really good insight here of the track systems that we're running this afternoon on day 2. One of those tracks is regarding construction, and Josh Swart, who is sitting to my right here. My name is Leon Barnes. He will be presenting on this afternoon, and he has also been a part of many presentations from yesterday, day 1, and also some of the exercises this morning. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask you any takeaways so far or nuggets that you've gained from some of the presentations.
The one that we just did, I know, the one that we did was just pretty humbling. Like, you're filling this stuff out, and it was the saboteur one. Yeah. And I'm filling this out, and it's asking me questions, and I'm like, I am a narcissistic psychopath. Or you're always like over analytical of yourself.
I mean, you could say that mustache is very serial killer-ish.
I'm getting painted in a very weird picture from this podcast. I don't know how I feel about this.
This is a fun one. I like this.
But for real, I mean, you identify aspects of your personality. Like, mine is the avoider. And so I'm a venturer personality type. I want to be off, creating, building, growing. And then there's those aspects that I'm like, I'll just deal with that. I'll kick it down the road. And those are the things that are strengths of my personality, but also weaknesses that are areas where I probably need to find somebody who can help me execute on those tasks that I find to be boring or not as important as the other things that I need to work on. But another great thing that was they were talking about yesterday is the physical contact with your team. in rewards, like, high fives, fist bumps, things like that. I'm so high driving that I often overlooked rewards for small achievements and things like that. So
Sure.
that was a really good reality check for me to make sure that I'm aware of things like that.
That was a really good takeaway for a lot of people. I've heard, Alan Stein Jr. presented yesterday, high-level performance coach on the athletic side, and now taking that into business. And he talked about how Steve Nash, the MVP of the NBA for a couple of years there, led the league in high fives, praise of his teammates. And some people can look at that and say, it's pretty weird and corny. Yeah. But the reality is that your teammates, just like his teammates that are basketball players, need affirmation, need to know that they're appreciated. And just sometimes the simple act of physical contact, of high fives or pat on the back, what have you. It's so simple, but it's so profound.
Yeah.
If you truly do it and commit to it from a culture standpoint, to have a positive, upbeat, everyone supporting each other. I mean, there's a reason that teams do well that have that type of culture, and it goes to business as well.
Absolutely.
The first part of the saboteur exercise, very vulnerable, that you have to really write down some things where you're like, Absolutely. Man, I've got to share this with people at the table. Where else would you ever do that type of exercise?
I don't know, therapy.
That's true. That's true. Now that we've put you as a serial killer firefighter, lots of therapy.
This is going south real quick.
I'm asking that question for a reason. Like, I feel like when people are watching this as entrepreneurs, real estate investors, people that are growing businesses, maybe adding on businesses, you need a tribe to be able to help you through some of these things and really, truly bring out maybe the things that you'll never have a conversation with anybody else about. So my question again is, do you do these type of exercises anywhere else in your business, with your team, or is it just when you come to CG?
I mean, we do personality testings with our team, and we're open, we talk, and we dialogue about stuff like that. But for me personally, this is one of the few opportunities that I get to surround myself with other high-level entrepreneurs who get it. Like, they understand, and they're not thrown off by the fact that these are my personality traits because they can sympathize with me,
It's your tribe. They understand you.
Exactly. So yeah, it's one of the few places that I get to do that.
Love that. Love to hear that. You've now, you started in our select level group. You promoted to our premier level group. To me, that's one of my favorite things about the Collective Genius. My first couple of years, we did not have multiple tiers. And over the last 4.5 years, to watch 40 plus members promote from select to premier and premier to CEO, we've seen, tells me that we're doing something right. You guys have to do the work, and you have to make sure that you're making those relationships, but ultimately the two work together to help you grow and scale, which is exactly why you come to this group. If you had to put your finger on one or two things that have really made the biggest impact for you here at the Collective Genius in your time here, one or two things, what would that be?
I probably could summarize it with this.
Okay.
Is you go on this entrepreneurial journey. Maybe you read a book, podcast, or something that sparked your interest, and it resonates with you. And you go on this quest of financial freedom or making a name for yourself or creating a business. And that initial drive only gets you so far. And once you go down that journey, you realize that there's gaps and there's areas that you just don't know what you don't know. And one of the big things for me is very, very simple. It's just was the financials. And that weekly call or that monthly call with Marcus Krigler in the financial call, there were some calls that I was attending that were just mind blowing with, oh, this is a balance sheet. I've never heard of that before. Because it's like, I know I'm making money, but where is it? And being able to identify where my cash is, being able to pull construction draws when I need to, like that right there was just such a pivotal part for me, being able to grow and scale and not be stressed or anxious about finances, right? There's stuff like that. And then the other big thing, the second thing would be just surrounding myself with other people that are doing business at a high level in my industry is both motivational and inspiring to be able to see, oh, if he can do it, I can do it, right? And there's a lot less of a competitive atmosphere because you got people from all across the country. You're exchanging information. It's just such an awesome environment to be in, to elevate your skills as a business owner and learn new things that you don't know that you need to know going into business, you know? So that was a rant, but
No, that's
there you go.
perfect. You don't know what you don't know as a business owner. And most people that are in this field, and most of our members, they didn't come from, a background of corporate America. They weren't running a Fortune 500 company. This is their first business and only business. They may have been doing it for 15 years, but there's still things that they didn't necessarily learn in getting around others. It's just those simple tweaks. I want to commend you for what you just mentioned, though. There, I said that the community, you have to do the work. The community will give you everything that you need. So I always say, it's like a grocery store. Like, I don't need every item at the grocery store. But when I go in, I have needs that I go and grab what I need off the shelf at that given time. Now, if I'm really hungry, I might grab more than I need, right?
Right.
But in this particular example, when you go to the grocery store, you grab what you need. The same thing goes for CG. You mentioned that financial call. I tell people all the time when we're doing their onboarding process and having the consult and they join, I say, look, we've got a call on Tuesdays. We got a call on Wednesdays. We got a call on Thursday. They're all live. All of these calls may not make sense for you right now, and you should not attend them all because your head's going to be spinning and you're going to try to do way too many things. But if you need one thing right now, you need that mustard, you need that ketchup, whatever it is that you need off of that shelf, grab that, not everything else. You mentioned that financial call. To me, it was one of the first calls when we created the Select Group. It's one of the first calls that we started and said, we have to have a financials call. Because believe it or not, people that are making millions don't always know where every single dollar, especially those that are doing construction, because that cash conversion cycle is so different. And so we started this conversation specifically talking about bringing construction in-house is what your track presentation is going to be on. And if that's the case, having the support of a community, helping you not only bring it in-house, but also understanding the financials and how different the cash conversion cycle is from assignments, hoteling, what have you, is so different. So you started with that financial call. Is there any other calls that have really made a big impact for you since you mentioned that one?
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of great calls. Like it usually lines up with, I have a need currently in my business or a knowledge gap. And, oh, hey, the creative financing calls this week. I'm going to jump on there, right? Or the commercial investing, or the land call. All of those have been great calls to be on to help. I raise my hand, ask a question, and there's a bunch of people in there that can chime into it. So having the availability of those on a regular basis has been super helpful.
So last question, you are presenting after lunch in the track, so you're going to be giving value. What's one thing that in the next day and a half that you still would like to connect with somebody that maybe you haven't received yet that you came to this meeting for?
Yeah. Right now, what we're seeing is longer times on the market. And so with our housing inventory that's sitting for a little bit longer than normal, I'm looking to connect with people who are just crushing it on selling properties on listings or off market and what they're doing to stand out from the competition.
Yeah.
So,
well, that will be not a simple connection, but I will say that there's been a lot of conversations with days on the market across the United States. There's definitely pockets where it's worse than others.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation with a few people at this meeting, and what you're going to hear is I have to make sure it's priced right and it's the best property in that particular area. That's the main two things you're going to hear. Now, there's obviously a lot of more details that come in and that just gave me a reminder. I'll make sure that we get you a connection or two downstairs, because the one thing many things that I love about this organization is that you have someone that fills a need. You can help somebody with construction. They can help you on the retail side. And we have a lot of investors that have great retail teams that can really walk you through what's working best across the U.S. to make sure that instead of 60 days, it's 30 days, or instead of 90 days, it's 35 days. But you know how the market goes. I mean, right now, especially in Charlotte, my guess is that inventory has gone up. Institutional buyers are probably buying it a little bit less, I'm guessing. And so you have to make sure that those properties are the best properties on the block in order to sell.
Yeah. And we've made some pivots, but because it's such a long conversion cycle, it's going to be another couple months before we start to see the results of that. So, and that's something I'm presenting on today in my presentation.
Awesome. Great tease for someone that really would love to learn about that. In addition to all the things that Josh mentioned here today, if you are someone that would love to be in the room with guys like Josh, to learn from, to network with, to learn construction and what have you, the best place to go check that out is explorecg.com. That is where you can find all the information about all of our tiers. You can also apply there. If you do apply, you will be signed up for a consult with myself or someone on our team. And from there, if we're a good fit, we'll talk about next steps. I can promise you this, if you're a full-time real estate investor looking for a community and you're a go-giver first and foremost, you're willing to help out, this is the community for you. So go check that out at explorecg.com. Josh, this was fun, weird a little bit, fun again, and informative.
All those things
combined. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Much appreciated. Yeah. We will be back with the live podcast. We've got a few more here today in day 2 at the live CG podcast here in Clearwater Beach, Florida. We'll see you real soon.
Are you ready to scale your real estate business? Visit explorecg.com, where real estate investors come to scale. Subscribe to the Collective Genius podcast and hit the bell icon to be notified when our next episode releases. And thanks for listening. This podcast is for informational purposes only. Past performance does not guarantee future results, and the opinions expressed by the hosts and participants are their own. The Collective Genius is not liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, or other damages resulting from reliance on the information shared in this podcast.